Hey everyone, so I got this MASSIMO power station MPS-500. This was a Costco deal and I actually bought two of them. So far I've been pretty impressed with this unit. So you've got AC out, 110 volts, 500 watts max. You also have a USB Type C, two USB 2.4 amp outlets, and a USB 3.0 DC outlets here, and then a cigarette outlet, and then an input for charging from solar panels. It says 12 volt to 24 volt input. It also comes with this handy light, pretty nice for working in the dark. Carry handle, vented side. This is 50 amp hours. Same specs as the front. USB-C port is 18 watts. It's also got these nice rubber non-slip feet, and it is pretty rugged. Nice plastic case. The non-slip feet are pretty good. Some other cool features about this is it has 3 separate banks that are selectable. So for example, for DC, if I press that, it lights up, tells you what the percentage of charge left in the battery is, how many hours that means, and also this is cool, it tells you how many watts are being used or being drawn. First test here, we're going to plug in my phone. Phone is plugged in. You heard the little beep. Phone is pulling some 4 watts. My phone's pretty charged. It's not drawing a lot right now. So that's hooked up right here through the DC. Again, you could turn off the USB. You could turn it on. Quick test here on the solar function. So I've got the Rockpals solar panel kit, 120 watts. You could see here on the Rockpals connection, there's 3 different types of DC connectors. There's the screw-in type, and then there's 3-in plugs. So initially I was confused because these power banks only have one input for DC 12 to 24 volt. And I thought that these 2 smaller plugs were actually polarized or positive and negative, and they're not. So usually the way these work is the outer jacket is negative and the inside is positive, or that might be reversed, but these are all self-contained polarity. So I set this power bank here in my kitchen. It's nighttime right now, so I can't test this in the sunlight, but one of these will fit into the MASSIMO power station. So right now it's not set up to where there's enough charge to be able, or there's enough light to be able to get this thing to charge. But if I hold up the sides of these solar panels towards my kitchen lights, you can see now that it's charging. So the only other question I have is whether I can charge one power station off of 2 sets of solar panels. And if they're in parallel and not series, I think that I can. So the next thing I'm going to show you is discharging and charging at the same time. Is a question a lot of people have. So I'm going to plug in my my iPhone. So you can see now that there's a draw. There's a draw. It says 2 watts. My phone is almost full, and then the battery meter shows that it's charging while you're discharging. The way that that works is it's not really, what it's doing is the extra charging capacity it's sending out to the phone through the USB. You can't really charge and discharge a battery at the same exact time. It's just what's flowing excess off the top can sort of be redirected, if that makes sense. So we'll turn the LED on. So it's recalculating now while it's charging, while it's discharging, while the LED is on. And there you have that part of the test. So the next thing is I have a MacBook. It's got one of these robot charges. One thing to keep in mind is on the AC, there's only one grounded outlet. There are 2 outlets, but only one of them is grounded. So I've got the MacBook plugged in now. Turn the AC bank on. Now my laptop's connected and we're at 29. MacBook's pretty much charged, but you can run multiple devices. You can turn the LED on. That's 1 watt of extra load. So right now, charging my laptop, charging my phone with LED on, it's saying it'll last 17 hours. You can crank this up an extra 3 watts. So in the kit, you do get a car charger for this, a house charger, and then you also get an adapter to use from regular solar panels. 50 amp hour battery, which I thought was pretty impressive for the weight. It only weighs, I think, 13 pounds. The user manual, here's what you get with the kit. 500 watt backup power supply is what it is. AC external charger, AC charging cable, MC4 adapter cable for solar charging, cigarette lighter, charging cable, and manual. It says don't use in a damp environment, don't use it in the water. It says to extend the battery life, please charge the battery every other month. The inverter is pure sine wave. That's really nice. Nice feature that they have. They're saying their conversion efficiency is 87%. Pretty good. Normally I would add about a quarter for having an inverter which turns the battery power to these AC plugs because the inverter has to run. I haven't noticed the fan kick on yet. Most of the AC inverters have a fan that's loud sometimes, so I haven't noticed turn on yet. LED light, it says, is 4 watts. They give some specs here on how long you can run stuff. Really, here's how you would hook to the solar panels. They have an adapter they include, the MC4. One drawback of having this style, which is a complete power bank, is that these do have what's called parasitic draw. If you had just a separate lithium ion battery and you had all your own connections, you could disconnect the battery and you wouldn't get that parasitic draw. So these would be shelf stable with a full charge for a very, very long time. In the manual, it says that the battery will drain by itself after a couple months, and they want you to extend the battery life on these by recharging them every month, basically, to make sure that they are topped off at capacity and not going through full drain and discharge cycles. And that's generally true for lithium ion batteries, is that if you are draining them completely to 0, charging them to 100 to 0, they wear out faster. Now they also say that there's 3 30 amp fuses in here, these Allen wrench heads that you can unscrew, so the inside is at least partially serviceable. So we're gonna open it up and check that out. So got the screws out, turned all the power off. Here's the lid. Now we can check out what is inside. Got the front panel off. You can see the batteries are actually down there. Soldering looks pretty good. Looks like they did a pretty good job putting it together. I mean, the actual physical size of the batteries is only maybe a third of the interior space. You can see the fan for cooling down the inverter there. There's some cooling fins. Here's the top view of the inside. You can see those 3 30 amp, they're like automotive fuses down in there. These are the connections for the front panel that I disconnected. There is not really any waterproofing. So something to keep in mind is this is really not good for damp environment, boats. If this thing gets any water in it, it's gonna be a pretty bad deal. Now the other thing, they say it has soft start. So a lot of times when you are connecting directly to a battery, it'll be just all the current available all at once, and you can pop a fuse. So that purple cylinder back there, that might be a capacitor, helps to avoid that sort of problem. And they say that in the manual that it has what's called soft start. Overall, I'm very impressed with this. I strongly recommend these for people that want a little power bank to 50 amp hours. You can try to figure out how much that's going to last you. It could run a CPAP overnight. 90 times it could charge your 5-volt mobile phone. 11.5 hours laptop. 9-hour fan. 6.5 hours of 32-inch LCD TV. 23 hours of 20-watt energy-saving lamp. 16 recharges for your drone. Mini fridge, 8 hours. That's going to vary depending on use of the AC versus DC. Running stuff off of DC is much more efficient. They're saying it's about 13% more efficient than using their inverter to get the power out. Mostly I'm going to be using these for camping, being off the grid, running my fridge, which has the DC plug, and I've already tested that, and I could run that for about 14 hours off my 56 amp hour battery. Having a second one as a backup, and then also to charge during the day while the other one is, discharging, and running the fridge, running camping lights at night. It's always really nice to be able to have some power on hand when you're off the grid. There's a handy little light built in. Costco extends the manufacturer's warranty if you use your Costco credit card. So really cool little device. Very happy with these. I'll put a link. They're on sale right now, Costco.com. But even if they're not on sale, I think they're a really good value to have on hand. Again, that one drawback is the parasitic draw, but you can charge them up every month to avoid that. Another wonderful thing to do, right? But anyways, I mean, if your power goes out, you'll always you'll at least have backup. And then if you have those solar panels with these, 2 of these, would be preferred. But even with one, I mean, you could live off the grid if you're not having a whole lot of different things that you're trying to run. So if you guys have questions, let me know. Please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching the video. I'll put a link up to some of my other videos about this stuff if you're interested in learning more.